Perfect.
This is Lizette. You heard her before.
It's me again. So this is In Data We Trust, in Analysis We Thrive. It's an analysis, we did analysis of some of our 16,000 support tickets in 2024, because Bywater Solutions is a support company first and foremost. And so this is, I was originally going to do this with one of my other coworkers, but special thanks to Michael Kuzak, our COO, who really helped us with this project, and he had the idea. Also, Laura O'Neill, our operations analyst, who helped with some of the analysis, and Heather Romans, who used to work here with Bywater. She did a lot of the initial analysis we were going to present together, and she did like most of the first wave of analysis on here. So why did we decide to do this? We were noticing trends of similar tickets where we were getting lots of like tickets about the same topics, and we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just, us noticing a pattern that was not as big as, like we were seeing all of them come in and thinking, oh, this is a bigger pattern. We wanted to confirm that. And also we were getting a larger volume of tickets. And so we wanted to see what we could do to not be getting as many tickets, because it was becoming pretty overwhelming last year. So our process was we exported all the tickets from 2024 and put it in Excel, randomized it, and then we picked like a sample of 50 tickets to analyze, use that to build some of our like categories and subcategories to use for the rest of the analysis. And then we did 400 tickets, where we went through each ticket and we looked at what it was about, what kind of broadly, what it was about a little more specifically, how it was solved, things like that, to try and build like, what can we do to make this better? Oh, yeah. So first we analyzed 50, and these are some of the charts. A lot of them from our first 50 were back-end configuration, things that only we could do mostly on the command line. This might be like updating a cron job, especially report cron jobs is something we get asked about a lot, where they want like a report emailed to them on a regular basis for like statistics or to make a certain process easier. And lots of reports questions, I need help with this report, or I need a report that does this or that. OPAC customization, and then kind of starts getting smaller, patrons, overdues, some non-Koha topics. So this might be tickets for our other products, or it might be about like our tools that we use with our partners, like our ticketing system help, things like that. And server performance was another big one. That's kind of something we started noticing pretty early on, was like back-end and server performance, which takes a lot of work from our systems team. Also just kind of like questions about administration and about notices. Either they're not going out like they should, or customization of them. So then we also did like topic analysis, which was kind of like from the reports. Some of those were report requests. Some of those were like third-party integrations or plugins. Some of it was SIP. A lot of error messages, which also might have shown in more than one place. Like here we have 6% error messages, but some of those might have been like cataloging error messages or patron error messages. Some of these were like just batch data delete or restore was something that we saw a lot of. And we also analyzed the solutions. So sometimes it was like a bug fix, which was both us writing a bug fix or backporting it. Sometimes it was custom code like jQuery to fix a problem. Often those were something that there was a bug fix coming, but it couldn't be backported for some reason, and so like a Band-Aid. Sometimes it was partner error, like, oh, we realized that this was actually someone did something in a weird order, and that's why it happened, and not really anything else going on. But what we found was a lot of it was just information provided. We told them what the system preference was that they were looking for, or we told them what the settings were that they needed to do what they wanted to do, and that was all they needed. And some of it was about, there were a few that were like no solution because they never messaged back. Like we gave them information or asked for follow-up questions, and in our sample of 50, 4% of them were just like, they never answered us when we asked a question, or never confirmed that that was, in fact, answering their question when we sent them something. And a little bit of it resolved on its own because it was like they couldn't recreate it consistently and then it stopped happening, things like that. So that was where we started. And we ended up having to revisit our topics list and our categories list a couple of times because not everything was covered on the first one. So then we expanded on those findings. We made those lists, and from the initial 50, we also extrapolated some that were like, okay, we have all of these. We know we're going to need patrons. Like there weren't circulation ones in our sample of 50, but there were other ones. So we'll put some circulations in so that when we find those, we have like that language already that is standardized. And same thing for kind of like sub or related topics, because some of these are really broad. And again, that ticket solution. So when we did our full 400, again, lots of that backend configuration. Also a lot of cataloging, which didn't come up as much in the other one. Lots of circulation, which there was 0 in our sample. Reports is similar. And again, like notices, patrons, server performance wasn't as high of a percentage here, which was nice, because it was a little scary that it was like a huge chunk of the sample. But that's the thing about sample data is it's only a chunk, only a small chunk. So with the full analysis of topics, we had a lot of plugin and third-party integration questions. So some of this was MessageBee, some of this was specific plugins, some of it was like Twilio or something that's more built in, or maybe a SIP question that was like an integration issue with SIP. We did have NSIP and SIP separately down here as well. Still a pretty good amount of those error messages. As well as some like batch action requests, bulk action requests is something we get a bit of, customization. So starting to see some of those same patterns. And again, here it's 37% of the tickets were solved by us providing them information. And so we decided we should dig into that more, because that's a good direction for like what kind of documentation would be helpful, either for internal to help guide this kind of thing or for sharing. So that's one of the things that we started looking at more deeply. Just a comparison, the sample percentages and the 400 analysis percentages. So backend configuration, fairly similar. Cataloging, way more cataloging than in the sample data. No circulation in the sample data, but 8% up here. But a lot of them were pretty similar, like reports, notices, patrons, that was all pretty similar, which was nice, because just seeing that the sample data matches some is helpful for being like, okay, good sample to start with, to be building all our categories off of. So for information provided, we started looking at what does that mean? Sometimes it was documentation provided. Sometimes it was, oh, there was bad data. and that was the information that was provided to them, especially if it was coming in from an outside source, like from a vendor that they were buying books from that was sending records, that was sending bad data. We could say, oh, they're coming in with this malformed mark field that's making it cause errors. So that's the issue that's happening, and they need to be sending the correct data. Sometimes it was like plugin information or adjustment of plugin settings, or like saying these are what you would need to solve. These are the settings you would need in your plugin to solve this issue. Sometimes we just had more info needed or confusion, which that's kind of the two ways where either they never responded to us, or that was like they never responded to us if we provided them the information and then they didn't ask, like we asked them a question. If we asked them a question, it would be more info needed. And so that was like, we asked them a question and they never got back to us. Or we ended up like, they ended up opening a different ticket that was where it got resolved or something like that. Confusion was really just when they never let us know if it solved the problem. And system preference information provided, and that's usually just like linking to the manual, like, oh, this is the system preference that does what you're looking for. And so there was a lot of that. So how are we using this? We have been working on the Power to the Partner. Oh gosh, I was talking about this earlier with Jason and I forgot the word. The list of things that we're doing to give power to the partners, which are what we call our customers. They're our partners, and like things that we can do that gives them power to do things. Yeah, patron empowerment. So SIP configuration in the interface is one of the ones that a lot of our tickets would pointed at. That would be helpful because that helps with those like back-end configuration that the systems team has to work on. And so we hired OpenFifth to work on that, and we're like testing it right now. No, not that one. That one's got pushed. The CronTap plugin we're testing right now. SIP got pushed to 2511. Permission improvements, because a lot of the stuff we get is questions about like we want to be able to do permissions this kind of granular way for our consortia, like we can for some things. Say, you can only edit patrons in your consortia, but we want to do that for like more things. Because right now it's often like you can edit it or you can't. And our consortia want like more permission for library groups there. Also, restoring deleted bibs, items, patrons, and holds. Because that's the thing that often happens where someone will say, oh, I'm going to delete this item list or this like batch item deletion. Oh no, that was not the list I meant to delete. Ran the wrong report or whatever. And then our data team has to go in and like manually restore it for multiple tables. Like if the bib also got deleted, then that has to be restored too and things like that. So working on tools to be able to restore that from within Koha, so it doesn't have to be manually recreated on the command line from the database. Also, power to our staff. So what could we do internally to make tickets easier for more of our staff to be able to handle? Because there's a lot of things that right now, like, they can only be done on the command line by our systems team. And some of those are things that we might not want to have anyone be able to just do, like have a Elasticsearch reindex. You don't want to make that too easy because that can really slow things down if you do it at the wrong time. But having it where something our staff could do more easily would be helpful for a lot of these same tickets because, again, right now it all goes to like the same small team of people. So also, what documentation do we need? Because if we're solving a lot of our tickets by giving out documentation, can we make it easier for people to find that to prevent even needing to put in a ticket, or at least make it easier to give them that information because we can have it in the manual or have a knowledge-based article. And template toolkit documentation is one of those things that like we do a lot of that, and it's mostly like 3 of us. And we have some documentation internally, but mostly we just know what to do. And so like we're working on trying to document more of that. And actually Donna, the head of our implementations team, is starting to put some of those on the wiki. If we do custom notices, then we like flag them for her so she can put them up on the wiki because we always forget. We're like, okay, more tickets to do. So things like that. And also our internal documentation drive in like, okay, these are the things that we need to make sure we have more documentation on. We have a team that is working on our like internal knowledge base, and so like we can give them that information so that they can know that these are things that would be helpful for staff and for partners to have more accessible documentation on, or more extensive. Because sometimes we have, you know, a stub article. We've got like, here's a paragraph, but we really need to talk about like, this option does this. And if you also have this system preference set, then it's going to do something totally different, you know, because that happens sometimes when there's 900 system preferences. Some of them are going to interact in unexpected ways. So that kind of thing. And then also our lightning greaves projects that we have identified for performance issues, or like performance improvements, kind of based on this and some other talks. Things that, again, we get a lot of tickets about and would be helpful to like make more efficient. Like some of it was like Elasticsearch improvements, I think. Permissions was on there. Circulation, doing like circulation in view so that it doesn't take as long to load on certain actions and things like that. So helping identify and like prioritize those for us. And so what's next? We're sharing that data with our internal knowledge base. We're continuing to work on these power to the partner improvements and identify them as they come up, because also sometimes there will be a new feature or a new bug that it's like, oh yeah, that would be a really good thing to have more power to the partner or power for our staff to be able to handle that. Working on contributing more to community documentation. I know that Donna is doing more documentation in the next cycle, and so more of the stuff that we're doing internally can be contributed back into the community. We have a new ticketing system on Zoho Desk that we moved to earlier this year, and it has a built-in knowledge base, and that's been really great because we can put the knowledge base articles straight into our tickets, and it's also really easy for our partners to search, and it's like in the same interface as the tickets. Our old website where we had all the blog posts, we had so many great blog posts, they were hard to search sometimes. And so it's a lot easier to search now than it was before. And we can also like categorize it and make it easy to click through, and it's really nice. It also has better analytics than we had set up in RT, and some of that is because RT Request Tracker was our previous system, and some of that is just based on what was set up then versus what we set up now. Like we're always put in like a component in, like what part of Koha or Aspen or whatever product are we doing, or like what is this ticket about, and also tags for different like different plugins and things like that, so we can track more easily without Heather and I had to go in to each of these tickets and like read through the whole conversation, because it didn't have a lot of this data, and that was part of the analytics that we did, was like reading through to see, okay, what's this actually about? What's going on here? So we're going to be able to do that with a lot less like direct work, because we're collecting a lot more of the information up front here, which should be nice, as well as time tracking, which we were doing some in RT, but now we'll have a better idea of how much time we're spending on different things, which will also help drive kind of like, okay, we're spending, it's not just that we have 500 tickets about this, it's also that we have 500 tickets that each take 2 hours to solve. instead of like 500 tickets that each take 2 minutes to solve because we just send them an article. So like, we really need to do something about this thing that takes 2 hours to solve, and we're getting 500 tickets about it. Things like that. We're also going to continue analyzing these tickets analyzing all our tickets moving forward, so we can keep an eye on like, okay, we made this improvement and now we noticed a drop in the SIP questions because we can do more of that in the interface. Or those are getting closed a lot faster because support can help with them instead of it all going through one department. And we're also going to continue identifying points where we can contribute our documentation or code to help with these bottlenecks or frequent problems. Another thing we'd like to do in the future is also talk to some of the other support companies about if they're seeing similar trends in their tickets, because this is only one part, one country's worth of data, support data, basically, and only for supported libraries, but like, is that representative of the kinds of problems other support companies are seeing a lot of? And I think that would be a helpful way for like the community to see what kinds of problems as a whole we're having. So, any questions? That was also faster than I thought it was going to be. I was like, there's all these charts to explain, but it was still pretty fast.